You are Mayank.
Yes.
Introduce yourself.
So I'm Mayank Sharma. I come from Shimla, Himachal Pradesh. I have done my graduation as engineering BTech from Himachal University. Then I have done my LLB from Delhi University, and I've also worked in Accenture as a software analyst. And currently I'm a practicing lawyer at the Himachal Pradesh High Court.
Okay, in your hobbies you have mentioned reading.
Yes, sir.
What do you read?
I read primarily non-fiction, sir.
Non-fiction. Any recent book which you have read?
I've read, sir, 21 Lessons for 21st Century by Noble Yuval Harari.
Okay. You have done your schooling from Chandigarh.
Yes, sir.
What is special feature of Chandigarh?
So it's a planned city
Okay.
at the very outset.
Who designed it?
Le Corbusier.
Okay.
Yes.
There is a famous monument behind Aban near Sultan Lake. What is that?
I'm not aware of that, sir.
Does Chandigarh have Sector 13?
No, sir. It doesn't.
Why?
Because the number is supposedly considered unlucky
For?
for superstitious reasons, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So you have done your LLB from Delhi University.
Yes.
Okay. What is judicial activism and judicial overreach?
So judicial activism is wherein the courts take in an activist stance, and they feel that the litigant should be should be able to come to the court more easily. One of the prominent examples is the PIL. And so judicial overreach is wherein the separation of power doctrine is breached in a manner, and the courts would take on the role of the executive as well as the legislature. So one of the examples I would cite is the judgment on the advanced living wills. Advanced living will is a concept which would have been rather been discussed in the parliament, and it was given by a 3-judge bench headed by Justice Deepak Mishra. So that's a judicial overreach, sir, in my opinion.
What is your opinion about Supreme Court's decision stalling this implementation of these 3 laws? Whether it is judicial activism or judicial overreach?
I think, sir, it is judicial overreach.
Overreach. And what about the establishment of a collegium? Is it judicial activism or judicial overreach?
Absolutely judicial overreach, sir.
Overreach. What is a collegium, by the way?
So collegium is a system wherein judges are appointed by judges themselves.
Okay. How many members are there?
So at the Supreme Court level, there are 5.
Yeah, at the Supreme Court level.
There are 5 judges.
There are 5.
Yes.
One is the Supreme Court Chief Justice and another.
This 4 senior most judges.
So it is an example of judicial overreach.
Yes, sir.
What is sedition?
So sedition is defined by Section 124 capital A of the Indian Penal Code itself, which says that by words or by speech, whoever disobeys the government, so that can be described as sedition, and that is described as sedition by the Indian Penal Code.
Can university students protesting against the policies of the government be arrested under sedition?
Say they should not be, because Kedarnath vs. Union of India is a landmark judgment describing the constitutionality of sedition itself. The Supreme Court is categorical on the point that any sort of speech which is not amounting to violence is not sedition. So coming to the university students, that is not sedition. It should not be arrested.
Any example under which some students have been arrested under sedition?
So JNU university students.
Yes. You might have heard about a cartoonist, he was arrested under sedition. What was the reason?
So I don't remember the name of the cartoonist, I'm sorry, but the reason was that he had pictured some politician, which was offensive for the politician. But I'm sorry, so I'm not really sure of what happened in that case.
I think it was regarding the disfiguration of a national emblem.
Right.
Okay. Second thing is, what is the disrespect to national symbols? You have national flag, you have other things also.
Yes.
Is there any example you can recall in the recent past, where somebody has shown disrespect to the national flag?
Yes, sir. One of the examples is the hoisting at the Red Fort by the protesters. So it was considered a disrespect for the national flag.
Second.
This is the only one I can remember.
Second was the person who died in that. It was considered as police firing, but ultimately he died in an accident, and his dead body was draped in national flag. Normally, the dead body of a martyr is draped in national flag, but so again, it's a dishonor to the.
I could recollect.
Okay.
Yes.
What types of laws are there in India? Criminal laws and the civil laws.
So both criminal and civil. So
What is the difference? First of all, you have to tell me what are the criminal laws.
So Indian Penal Code is a prominent example. It's a criminal law.
Okay, then
Prevention of Money Laundering Act is a criminal law.
prevention of.
Money Laundering Act.
Okay,
So NDPS, which deals with narcotics and psychotropic drug substances, is a criminal act.
okay. What about Indian Evidence Act?
So Indian Evidence Act is not really criminal, neither civil. It is a procedural law at the very outset. So it covers both dimensions. You can actually, by one single statute, you can prove whether it's a civil matter, civil case, civil offence, or a criminal offence. You can prove by one statute itself.
What about CRPC?
It's a procedural law dealing with the criminal side of the law.
What is the difference between criminal law and the civil law?
So criminal law, so there are specifically two differences. So one is that criminal law talks about mens rea, which is the intention. So it says that the act and the intention must both concur to constitute a crime.
Okay.
So civil law, intention may or may not be there. If the intention is not there, then also a civil offence can happen. The second is the fact that in criminal law, the beyond guilty provision is there. That means the offence should be proved beyond guilty. So in civil law, it is the preponderance of probabilities which is enough to prove the offence.
Tell me something about human rights.
So human rights are basically the very essence of humans, which come from the idea of human personality. So going back to the origin of human law, so basically the idea of Montesquieu and French Revolution, American Revolution, these are categorical in bringing out the idea of human rights. So the continuation in India is the Constitution of India, which talks about fundamental rights, so which concurs with the UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as well as the UN Charter. So this is the recent which is within the ambit of human rights, but the origin goes back to the revolutions of Europe and America.
When is the Human Rights Day celebrated?
So I'm not able to recollect.
Okay. What is Armed Forces Special Powers Act? AFSPA.
So it's a special act which gives certain special powers to the armed forces, and it is in place in certain corners of India right now.
Where?
So in J&K and a couple of northeast states.
For example, Manipur and.
So it's in Manipur. It's also in.
What is the headquarter of Lawrence Spiti?
Please, sorry.
Headquarter of Lawrence Spiti.
I'm not aware, sir.
What is the Red Corner Notice and who issues it?
So Red Corner Notice is issued by Interpol, and it is a notice wherein any offender of a particular country is brought to notice by Interpol that this offender is supposed to be arrested. So it's been done in case of Nirav Modi, I think.
Nirav Modi.
Yes.
Then what about Vijay Mallya?
I'm not sure, sir, if it's a Red Corner Notice.
A couple of days back, Chief Justice of India was in the news due to some observations.
Yes.
Okay, couple of days back.
Yes.
You tell me what are those observations and what is your take on that?
So the observation pertains to the fact that there was a rape case before the Honorable Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court stated, and the Honorable Chief Justice of India stated that to the rapist, that will you marry the victim,
Yes.
the prosecutrix. That's the legal term, sir.
Okay, number one. Number two?
So my view is it's absolutely wrong.
Right.
So because legally talking, sir, the criminal jurisprudence of India deals specifically with giving punishment to the offender. So this is exactly the idea of compounding of an offence, marrying, which is not within the ambit of IPC as well as CRPC, sir, which is Section 320 CRPC gives the list of offences which are compoundable. Marrying the victim is a compounding of an offence which is not allowed legally under the Criminal Procedure Code. And secondly, sir, in my opinion, I think it's demeaning the victim also, the woman victim. So I think she has a right to access to justice, and when she's approached the court of law, I think it should.
You're talking about the second example? I asked you about two examples. You have given the first one. What was the second one?
Second, I'm not aware, sir.
It was regarding marital rape. Between
Okay,
husband and a wife. Whether it can be considered as a marital rape or not. The second observation was regarding that.
Okay. Okay, sir.
My last question is,
Please.
what is honor killing? Honor killing.
So honor killing is an instance wherein a family there's a family and there's a couple who's married against the wishes of the family. So specifically Punjab and Haryana, wherein daughters are being killed for this reason that they married outside caste or perhaps outside religion also. So because of the supposed demeaning of the honor of the family. So that's honor killings.
What do you think? In civilized society in 21st century, what is your take on that? Whether honor killing should be there or not?
It should not be there, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely not be there, because firstly, sir, the Honorable Supreme Court is very categorical on the point that honor killings are against the freedom of choice which is guaranteed by Article 21. And so secondly, it also talks about the medieval mindset of the prevalence of caste system in the country. So I think it should not be there, sir. It is not a good practice in the country to be followed.
Okay. What is same Gotra marriage? Same Gotra marriage. There are certain Khap panchayats in Haryana which are against same Gotra marriage.
Yes.
What is that?
So the boy and the girl having the same Gotra getting married.
Okay. Whether it is ethically wrong or medically wrong, or both?
So in my opinion, it is medically wrong, sir. Not ethically wrong, but could medically wrong.
How can it can't be ethically wrong? Because when a boy and a girl, they belong to the same Gotra, they can't be treated as husband and wife. They'll be brother and sister. So ethically they are wrong. Medically again also, it's both.
Right. So there's, if I may point out, so there is some research on the point that Sagotra marriages, which technically it's called the Sagotra marriage. So Sagotra marriages are not actually leading to the idea of the medical issue which it creates. So there's some research on it I have read, but I'm not a sociology student, so not
Okay.
have delved deeper into it.
Okay.
But so there is a research which says that it is not specifically leading to what we think that it is a medical infirmity. It is not, sir, because the chain is quite longer in India. So there are differences, sir. So jati and everything, sir, it talks about that.
But on the one hand, the science does tell us that if you are married in the same Gotra, you will be having problems as far as the pregnancies and other things are concerned. Because your genes are same,
Yes.
the blood is the same.
Yes.
Your progeny will have problems,
Yes.
medical problems. So okay, in that way also, it's medically as well as ethically wrong.
I saw that basically you are engineering information technology and then you switched over to legal studies.
Yes, sir.
So when did this thing came in your mind that I should go for administrative services?
So the idea of leaving BTech, leaving jobs, in fact job, I was at Accenture, I was a software analyst. So it was a calling, sir, that I should rather prepare for civil services examination. And then I left my job, sir. I took up LLB because it was a career backup plan for me. So it's a long calling, sir. It's been around 5 to 6 years now.
Then after graduation you planned for administrative service?
No, sir, after my job, I took up the job at Accenture. I got promoted also, but I thought I should apply my aptitude and skills at the administrative services level.
Do you think that it is proper that firstly you go for engineering services and spend this much money? You know that how much it is spent on an engineer or a doctor. Then finally they switch over to legal studies where there is different thing, and finally in administrative services. So is it not just the wastage of national money?
Not in my opinion, sir. I have all the aptitude and skill to actually be a better administrator, sir. And in fact, my BTech skills have helped me in my legal field. Cybersecurity is an upcoming field, and I'm a BTech IT professional, so I'm well versed with what is going on at the cybersecurity level, the cyber law level. And so in my opinion, I have better skills to be a better administrator because of my both degrees, BTech as well as LLB.
That's very nice. Where you have visited in Himachal Pradesh? How many districts?
So I think I have visited around 5 districts in Himachal Pradesh.
Can you name those districts?
Yes, I have visited the Shimla district wherein I live. So I belong to the Kangra district, so that is second, sir. So I have been to Bilaspur district, sir, that is third. So I was born at Mandi district, sir, so that's fourth. And the fifth is the Sirmaur district.
You have never visited this Chamba and tribal districts. Which are tribal districts in Himachal Pradesh?
So Chamba and Kinnaur.
Are tribal districts?
Yes, sir.
And what about Lahaul Spiti?
I'm sorry, sir.
That is the entire district, which is a tribal
Yes, I'll read more about it, sir.
district. And from Chamba, it is only the Pangi and Barmor, which is in tribes. Otherwise, rest of the
Yes, sir.
that is not. So it's very surprising that you intend to go in administrative services and you have not visited the tribal of Himachal Pradesh, where you are likely to get the very first posting. So would you like to go over there, or to stay back in the High Court where you can just enjoy in the morning? If it is cold, then it becomes hot. If it is hot, then it becomes cold.
So I'm willing to serve anywhere in the state. And so visiting that state, sir, is not really a criteria to judge as to whether I'll be a good administrator or not. But sir, I think the aptitude I possess is, and so the kind of empathy I have, I think, sir, I'll do well at areas where there are weaker sections.
Anyhow, now you have been posted in Sirmaur. You have visited Sirmaur.
So I've just been through that area.
You are posted as a SDM Sangha. There is one place Sangha in Sirmaur. You are SDM over there, and you came to know that there is one place as Nauradhar, or say anything. You came to know, you received a call that there is accident of the bus, and you are SDM over there. Now what do you do?
So the first action would be to create a team of my subordinates and to get in link with the DC. And so then the team should be multifarious. It should comprise.
Talk to DC.
So firstly, it's important to keep my superior in the line of duty. And so then creating a team of my subordinates. And so that team should take care of the medical of the accident victims. And so also to see if there are pregnant ladies therein, and so to see if there are elderly therein, and so to get in touch with the nearest hospital. So and then those teams would ensure that so the pregnant ladies and the elderly are first rescued, and so in contact with the hospital administration. So I'll ensure that everybody gets treatment, and so the weaker sections, they should get it first.
Anyhow, if you happen to be in tribal district like Lahaul Spiti or Kinnaur, do you know about weather conditions over there? How harsh it is?
Yes.
So what kind of preparation you will make if you are posted at Kaja, and it is in the month of say July, August, September, and then finally winter will come when everything will be blocked.
Yes.
What kind of preparation will you be making over there if you are posted over there?
So if I may ask.
If you are posted over there, you are SDM at Kaja.
Yes, sir. So preparations specifically
For the winter, entire winter. Because it is the administrative head over there who has to make all the preparations.
Yes, sir. So for winters, it's specifically talking about the snowfall and the associated disaster management plans. So sir, for winters, it is important to be in constant connect with the stone cutters and snow cutters.
Nothing will work in the winter. It will be all closed.
So
No snow cutters come over there.
It's just a beforehand preparation which I'll be doing to be in cut with snow cutters, to issue advisories, use of media, radio and TV if possible, and giving
And
it.
what about the supplies? You need the entire things over there.
Kerosene, food items, fodder, each and everything you have to stockpile before the winter setting.
Yes, sir. So.
Can we have hydroelectric projects keeping in mind the ecology of the state, especially after that disaster which took place in Uttarakhand? Can we have more hydroelectric projects?
So the potential in Himachal is huge. It should be tapped. But keeping in mind the environmental factor associated with the hydropower, I think there is a need to diversify towards solar as well as wind. And so these wind, specifically Lahaul and Spiti, is one area wherein wind energy can be tapped because of the cold desert conditions. And so solar also, although a subtropical location of the state, but there are certain patches wherein there is a good potential for solar energy. So in fact, to add to it, sir, the geothermal energy is also one of the areas which can be explored.
So we talked a lot about the positives that you have that may help in your services, right? Do you think you have some weaknesses as well as a person?
I do, ma'am. I think yes. Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk about some if it's okay with you?
Yes, ma'am. I'm not good as an artist, ma'am. I cannot really sing. I cannot really paint. So I think that's a weakness.
Do you think that could be a challenge in the service field?
Probably, ma'am. Then I lack creativity in some areas where creativity and innovation is required. I might lack in that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me what's your idea of development for any place? What's development to you?
Ma'am, development is a multifaceted term. For me, it starts with the idea of human resource development, and then it goes towards the development of social infrastructure, and then it goes towards the creation of physical infrastructure. So I think these three areas are important to create a holistic picture of development.
So for the longest time in India as well as the world, there's been a debate that is environment versus development, right? And here more specifically the infrastructural development. What's your take on that? Where do you stand in environment versus development?
Ma'am, development is important. Talking in the context of a developing country like India, we need to develop, but we also, since as a responsible global power, we have to ensure that the environmental harm is less. So I think, ma'am, what we need is that there should be a balance between the two. One of the prominent things which we are doing right now is the focus away from coal towards, for example, the electronic vehicles, towards solar. So, ma'am, it creates a harmony between environment and development. Creation of jobs is also maintained, and environmental damage is also reduced.
Okay, but then that is good to hear, theoretical. But when you are really the administrator, when you are in charge, and you have to take decisions whether or not to create this infrastructure in a yes or no, then where do you stand? What do you do to make sure that you can take that middle path that you're talking about? What do you do on ground?
Can you point out something specific, ma'am?
Something specific, all right. If suppose you may have heard of this Western Ghat, entire Silent Valley thing that has been going on for many years,
yes,
right? And the debate has always been that how much area should be reserved,
yes,
or how much should not be reserved, and there are several committees that are giving several recommendations,
yes,
while there are some that are talking about environment, right, while there are others that say that okay, even development is important, right? So we are always talking, if suppose you are given an example that there is some infrastructure that has to be created in your area where you are the administrator, then what do you do to make sure that you balance both things out, as to development does take place, infrastructure, while also making sure that the environment does not go haywire because of that?
Right.
So anything that you can come up with.
Ma'am, if talking about the Western Ghats area, ma'am, there were two committees, Madhav Gadkil and Kasturi Ranjan. So, ma'am, Madhav Gadkil, in my view, is a bit overboard, because it talks about treating the entire area as an economically special zone, environmentally eco-sensitive zone, sorry, ma'am. But the Kasturi Ranjan committee is more practical, and that would be my approach. Areas which you think are actually eco-sensitive in terms of both biodiversity as well as the effects of climate change on that areas, ma'am, those areas should not be touched. But areas which are more resilient in terms of taking the impact of change in environment and change in biodiversity, those areas, ma'am, can be utilized for the purpose of development. I think that would be my approach.
Okay. You know about Green Revolution?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. What's your take on Green Revolution? Has it been a boon or a bane for the country?
It has been a boon in terms of agricultural production, and in terms of agricultural self-sufficiency, but it has also been a bane in terms of environmental damages and the regionally restricted good effects of Green Revolution, which are restricted specifically to Punjab and Haryana, and they have not been able to spread to the eastern areas of India, and that's why they have not been able to reap the benefits of Green Revolution.
And do you think Green Revolution has also brought about some social changes in the Punjab Haryana that you're talking about? Economic, yes, you talked about the economic, but do you think there's been any social, cultural implications as well?
One social change which I can think of is the rise in incomes of certain labor classes, and also, ma'am, another social change is that there has been a rise in incomes of the bigger farmers. So as a result, ma'am, the idea of farming, ma'am, as a practice is more capitalized. That is what the sociology books talk about. That farming is capitalized because of the fact that bigger farmers are taking the larger chunk of the benefits of Green Revolution.
Okay. And what's your take on these farm laws? Are you with them or against them?
They are good, ma'am. They are good laws. Yes.
Then why are lakhs of people standing there on the streets?
Ma'am, we need to consider the fact that the farmers are specifically from 2 to 3 prominent states of India.
Those are also the states that are mainly agricultural, right?
Those are the agricultural states,
Yeah, so
ma'am.
obviously
And
they'll be the ones standing.
yes, ma'am. But there are other states, ma'am, which are agriculturally productive, but they are not part of the protests. Specifically, ma'am, because the idea of adhatiyas, the middlemen, is not in other areas, and adhatiyas are specifically being affected by the idea of these farm laws, which actually take away the produce away from mandis to directly to the private sector. So
You're saying that farm laws are good, they may be beneficial.
yes, ma'am, they are beneficial, I think.
Okay, how? Could you give me one or two things that may be beneficial eventually?
Ma'am, taking away the produce from the mandis, ma'am, that takes away the idea of licensing the cartelization by traders inside the mandis. So the farmer has the right to directly go to the purchaser, and all the fees which the occur in the middle by the middleman, it's not part of the game anymore. That is one. Second is, ma'am, the idea of contract farming. So it gives the farmers the inputs, so he is not supposed to pay for it, and it also gives the farmer the market. So, ma'am, I think it's good enough for the farmer.
Okay. Also, you've heard about euthanasia.
Yes,
You know about the term euthanasia. What's your take on that? Should it be allowed? Should it not be allowed?
it's already allowed by the Honorable Supreme Court.
Yeah,
And
that's there. But
Yes, ma'am.
what do you like? What's your opinion on euthanasia?
I think, ma'am, the idea of passive euthanasia is good enough to be allowed, but not active. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Last question I have for you. So, over the last few decades, globalization has taken over, right? Can you tell me some social or economic or cultural impacts, both positives as well as negatives, that globalization has brought about?
Ma'am, cultural or social economic?
Whichever you feel comfortable. Economic as well as social. Okay, just tell me economic and social.
Ma'am, the economic positive is that since we are globalized, so we have more employment opportunities. For instance, if I talk about my example, ma'am, Accenture, I had worked with Accenture, so it's a global company, and because of globalization it came to India, and because of that I could be a part of that firm. And ma'am, the negatives, economic negative, is that it is leading to more and more informalization of the economy, casualization of the workforce. So that's negative. Culturally, the positive impact is that we are being introduced to more new cultures. And the negative is that perhaps our culture is getting stymied because of the impact of more prominent cultures like the Western, or in fact even the Chinese culture nowadays. Yes.
Okay, just one more. So we use the term modern very often. This thing is modern, that thing is modern,
Yes, ma'am.
right? What is modernization? What do you think is modern?
Ma'am, removal of sati by Ram Mohan Roy's modernization.
Okay.
And I'm
As a
taking,
concept, what do you think modernism is?
ma'am, modernization is a concept which deals with the idea of rationalism.
Okay.
So our thought process is more towards areas wherein we can think, question, and then come to a conclusion, rather than basing ourselves on any superstitions or anything which is customary.
Very well. Thank you. So,
Wearing bikinis and other things, whether it's a sign of modernization or modernity.
So it's modernity, sir. Because I think it's rational also, sir. If one wants to wear it, he can wear it. But I think it's modernity.
Mayank Sharma जी, आप शराब पीते हैं?
No, sir. Sir, I used to drink while at the office parties, but I left it after that.
जब आपकी पोस्टिंग अगर किन्नौर में हुई,
हाँ जी.
तो वहाँ पर कोई भी चीज़, चाहे कोई आप सड़क का उद्घाटन करेंगे, बिल्डिंग का उद्घाटन करेंगे, टेम्पल में कोई भी सेरेमनी होगी, इवन शादी ब्याह, चलो शादी ब्याह देखें, नॉट इम्पोर्टेंट, पर अदर सब जगह आपको मिनिस्टर्स के साथ जाना पड़ेगा, वहाँ बोतल पूजा होती है, तो वहाँ इट इज़ टेकन लाइक गंगा जल, राइट? तो फिर वहाँ तो आपको देनी पड़ेगी.
I can have it, sir.
अब क्योंकि पीपल पार्टिसिपेशन से चलता है एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में, तो आप उनके साथ वहाँ पर जाएंगे, प्रधान जी घर में बुला लेते हैं, तो फिर सब जगह रेस्ट हाउसेज भी नहीं होते, रुकना ही पड़ सकता है, तो आप रुक गए वहाँ पर, अब अंगूरी की बोतल मैंने खोल दी.
हाँ जी.
तो अब फिर क्या, मतलब किस तरह से आप मैनेज करेंगे अपने आप, क्योंकि जब अंगूरी आएगी तो उसके साथ थोड़ी देर में बकरा काटना है, वो वहाँ पर रूटीन निभाते हैं, वो भी आ जाएगा.
ठीक है, सर. I am not a teetotaler, so I can have a sip or two, not beyond that. I have to ensure that I am in my senses.
तो फिर नेक्स्ट डे प्रधान जी फिर आपके पास आ जाएंगे दफ्तर में, और फिर बोलेंगे कि जी ऐसा है, तो आप तुम्हारे खास और ये तो करना पड़ेगा आपने.
Yes, sir. My endeavor would be to keep a difference between my personal and professional life. So I think they would not really be there would not be an interface between the two. So the personal, that's personal, the professional, and so I'll not be taking favors because of the fact that I had drink the previous night. So that's my opinion, sir.
Okay, you are from Kanha district and
Yes.
presently residing in Shimla.
Yes, sir.
Right. So both the cities, Dharamshala and Shimla, carry some historical facts. Can you tell me some differences as well as similarity between the two cities?
Yes, sir. I haven't really gone through the literature on Dharamshala, but I can tell you about Shimla. See, Shimla, it's a historic city. One of the prominent factors is that it has been a capital of the British Raj. Second, sir, the added factor is that the architectural significance it possesses because of the rich past it has. And so third, also in terms of international relations, there is Shimla Agreement, which was carried out at Shimla, so which is demarcated the LOC between India and Pakistan. So this is the importance of Shimla, which I know. So Dharamshala, so the contemporary happenings which I know is that it's been given more importance by the political class. For instance, the shifting of Vidhan Sabha to Dharamshala is one of the factors. Another is it's now becoming a globalized city because of the fact that it has a cricket stadium there. So these things I am aware of Dharamshala.
And both cities are comes under the smart city program.
Yes.
What do you understand by smart city program, and what achievement has been done in this direction as far as smart city is concerned in both the cities?
So Smart City is a scheme of the Government of India which talks about creating a designated area of a particular city as a smart city. Which so smart, the idea is that it should be technologically advanced in terms of connectivity with the internet also, and the next idea of Internet of Things also. So my personal observation is in context of Shimla is that there is a massive infrastructural overhaul going on in the Shimla city itself, and it is under the smart city project. So another benefit of this smart city project has been that it created integrated command and control centers. These have been very, very successful in testing and in tracing the COVID positive patients in the last year, which happened during the pandemic. So I have not really been to Dharamshala of late, so I don't really know what is the latest infrastructural overhaul going on there.
Okay, you are from Kangra, so Kangra is very famous for Kangra painting.
Yes.
How it is different from Mughal school of painting?
So basically, the idea of Kangra School of Painting began when the decline of the Mughal school started. So when at the time of Aurangzeb, when the decline of the Mughal school of painting started, there were some painters who started shifting towards Rajasthan as well as towards Himachal.
Is there any differences between in subject matters, the both school of painting?
Yes.
Any differences in their features?
Yes. So in terms of subject matter, so Mughal School of Paintings has been about the court life of Mughals, and so the Kangra School of Paintings is about the religious so the what Sansar Chand, the Maharaja Sansar Chand, Radha Krishna stories and everything, what he espoused, sir. So basically that is what he asked the painters to paint.
Okay, in Kangra district there is a dam, Pong Dam.
Yes, sir.
On which river this dam is situated?
Yes, sir, River Pyas.
Okay, in few days back it was in news.
Yes,
So why it was in news?
it's for the bird flu.
Okay. Couple of months back, USA has signed a peace agreement with the Taliban.
Yes.
What are the major outcome of this agreement?
So the idea is that one of the outcomes would be that forced withdrawal from Afghanistan of the US forces. The second is it aims to bring Taliban rule into Afghanistan, and so a negative outcome would be that the current dispensation, which is the current government of Abdul Ghani, probably. So that is having a lesser say as Taliban is recognized by US.
Okay, it seems that in future Taliban is going to come in power in Afghanistan. So do you think that it is going to be challenging for India as far as our foreign policy is concerned?
So basically the issue with Taliban has been that it's a terrorist organization, and so previously also India has a fear that because of the presence of Taliban, it has a spillover effect over the Kashmir region of India. So it has happened also, sir, in 1999. It has happened before 9/11. The presence of Taliban in Afghanistan led to increase of terrorist activities in India, specifically in the Kashmir region. So this is one of the international relations issues which India thinks would be an outcome of the presence of Taliban in Afghan polity.
So what is required to be done from our side to prevent Taliban and Taliban activities in this region, mainly after when they will overtake power in Afghanistan?
Track 2 diplomacy is one of the things which we can really explore in terms of getting in touch with the Talibani dispensation before the track 1 diplomacy, sir, because the official position of Minister of External Affairs is that it should be an Afghan-led, Afghan-owned and Afghan-controlled peace process, and India currently thinks that it is not Afghan-led since it's a terrorist organization. So, sir, track 2 diplomacy can be a prominent factor in getting in touch with the Talibani dispensation. And sir, I also think that Pakistan, the route of FATF is important to have a control on Pakistan, because it is eventually the Pakistan and the ISI which is promoting Talibani terrorists into the Kashmir region.
Okay, India has a lot of stakes, economic stakes in Afghanistan. So we have started so many programs like road, railways. So why India is so rigorously spending that much of money in Afghanistan? So what are the major objects behind this?
So the first objective is that India follows the classic Chanakya Niti of Rajmandla, which talks about that the enemy of the enemy should be your friend. So Afghanistan is a friend of ours and enemy of Pakistan supposedly. So that is one thing that India is doing in terms of the historic importance of Rajmandla in Indian foreign policy. Second is Afghanistan is important for our access to Central Asian region. So third is the energy factor.
Who's governor of Himachal Pradesh?
So Mr. Bandaru Dattaria.
Okay, go ahead.
So third is the energy factor. So the Tapi pipeline, TAPI, which starts from Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, then comes to Pakistan, then comes to India. So the prosperity of Afghanistan is a
Do
prominent
you think
factor.
that this pipeline is going to be a successful story in future?
So I think it should be a successful story in future.
Okay, India is doing very much in the South China Sea. In one hand, we can say that India has a very good presence over there in South China Sea. So, can you tell me list out some projects which India is running over there?
So I can recollect only one project right now, which is by ONGC Videsh Limited in Vietnam. So they're exploring that area, the Vietnamese area of the South China Sea, for oil drilling.
Okay, any program that are strategically important
So in South
in
China
South China Sea, sir?
So I think this is a strategically important program, so the oil exploration in Vietnam.
I think this is economically much closer than strategically. Have you got 2+2 agreement?
Yes, I have.
What is 2+2?
So it's a meeting between the defense ministers of US and India,
Okay.
and it has been extended to Japan also.
What is Quad?
So Quad is a grouping of four, so they're called the Diamond Democracies: India, US, Japan, and Australia.
Okay, India has always very much aspired to have a democratic setup in our neighboring country, but nowadays we can see that our neighboring countries are not as much as in terms of democracy. Like in Nepal, there is a trouble, and in Vietnam, Myanmar, there is also government has been overtaken by the military rule. So, how this is going to affect India?
So being a democratic country, so we always
Democratic country as well as our foreign relation with these countries.
So specifically Myanmar also.
Myanmar and Nepal both.
Okay, sir. So the effect of non-democracy both in Myanmar and Nepal. So the first issue is with the economic issue, I think so. So then, and second is in case of Myanmar, if there is an army rule. So currently, so what has happened is, since there was the democracy in Myanmar, so we could actually liaison with the Myanmarese government and tackle the insurgents in the northeast. So sir, this has been a problem in case of army dispensation in the past with Myanmar government. So, and sir, in case of Nepal, so I think people-to-people contacts are hampered if there is no democracy in Nepal.
अच्छा, जनमंच प्रोग्राम है कोई हिमाचल में, को क्या है?
So the CM along with officers of the state, they
Only CM or any other ministers can also go to head the जनमंच program? Anyhow, for your knowledge, it is the minister
Okay, sir.
who is the head or the chairman over there where that program is organized. You are posted as BDO, and minister is sitting over there. Somebody comes and oh, जनाब ये जी यहाँ पर हमारा एक पुल बननी चाहिए, तो मंत्री तो बोलेगा आपको करो, आपको पता है कि यहाँ तो बन ही नहीं सकती पुल, तो क्या करेंगे आप?
So थोड़ा सा the background check should be there as to what is the feasibility of creating a pool in that area.
नहीं, मंत्री ने तो बोलना है, इनको खुश करना, मैंने तो वोटें देनी दी, तो क्या करेंगे?
So I think
ऑन द स्पॉट क्या करेंगे आप? वो तो उसी टाइम बोलते हैं, हाँ जी वीडियो साहब ये करना है.
yes, I'll be saying that it's important to check the feasibility of the project, if it's possible or not. So there and then, sir, I think it's not possible to give a yes or no. And so it's not. Sir,
You will annoy me over there. You can bear it कि भी मेरी पोजीशन खराब हो जाए यहाँ पर.
Immediately he will kick you out from that meeting. Yeah. If you say no to the minister.
चलो कोई बात नहीं, आप STM लग गए वहाँ पर करसोग में, और जो STM को इंटरव्यू लेने पड़ते हैं आंगनबाड़ी कार्यकर्ता होते हैं, उनके इंटरव्यू आते हैं, और वहाँ दो लड़कियाँ आ गई, एक का नाम रक्षा, एक का नाम फुलमा है. तो वो जो फुलमा है, शी रियली डिजर्व्स इट, गरीब सी बेचारी, और इंटरव्यू के लिए आपके पास आती, पर जो फुलमा है वो रक्षा है दूसरी, उसका तो अप्रोच है, आपको फ़ोन करवा दिया जयराम जी से, और अब यू कांट, अब जयराम को थोड़ी आप तो करना पड़ेगा ना, तो कर दिया आपने, जयराम आफ्टर ऑल SDM मानना पड़ेगा. अब आप देखते हैं कि भी विद इन 3 days हुआ तो क्योस हो गया, हेजिटेशन कर गए, लोग आ गए, चारों तरफ से घेर दिया, मुर्दाबाद, मयंक शर्मा मुर्दाबाद, SDM मुर्दाबाद, जयराम ठाकुर मुर्दाबाद. अब आप क्या करें? आपको पता है गलत क्या हुआ, क्यों किया? क्योंकि जयराम ने, लोग तो आगे चारों तरफ से, आप क्या करेंगे?
Sir, मतलब what has gone wrong, sir?
आपने गलत को सिलेक्ट कर दिया
गलत
ना।
select कर दिया।
लोगों में तो हेजिटेशन हो गया कि सिलेक्ट तो ही होना चाहिए,
क्वालिफाइड
full
थी, उसको आपने किया है।
क्वालिफाइड नहीं, डिजर्व करती थी, नंबर उसके जहाँ बनते थे, पर एक्चुअल में ये कि भी उसको फेवर करने के लिए क्योंकि जयराम का फोन आ गया तो आपने उसको सिलेक्ट कर दिया, और वहाँ पर उसके साथ तो कोई नहीं थे क्योंकि शी बिलोंग्स टू वेरी मतलब ऐसी फैमिली की, और जो गरीब बेचारे उस साल लोग इकट्ठे हो गए, वहाँ पर हो गए इकट्ठे, अब आपके अगेंस्ट हो गए, पर अब क्या करेंगे आप?
फैक्ट फाइंडिंग कमेटी होनी चाहिए सर इसमें तो।
फैक्ट फाइंडिंग
आपने
इंटरव्यू
तो
तो आपने लिया,
किया, आपने तो किया, आप फैक्ट
और
फाइंडिंग
लोग
कमेटी
people
कैसे
are against
बनाओगे?
you.
So I think it's important to lower the tempers of the crowd in the first place.
कैसे करोगे?
So I think firstly police protection should be provided.
किस
in
चीज
that
की
area.
पुलिस प्रोटेक्शन? जब आपने गलती की है
सर
तो
ठीक है but
पुलिस प्रोटेक्शन भी आ गई,
right sir.
क्या करेगी? लाठीचार्ज कर देगी उसको?
पर जो वो तो एजिटेशन तो बढ़ गया, जब तो पुलिस आ गई अब तो लोग बिल्कुल वायलेंट हो गए, अभी तो दूसरे नारे लगा रहे थे, अब तो पत्थरबाजी में आएंगे कि अच्छा एक तो गलत करते हो ऊपर से पुलिस बुलवाते हो।
ये तो वायलेशन ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स है।
कैन यू नॉट से सॉरी टू द पीपल?
I can sir but I think it's not the right approach sir. मतलब sir if you want
मतलब वो आपके नारे लगाए जिंदाबाद जिंदाबाद, आपके गले में मार डलवाए, आपको टोपियां पहनाए, है ना, जैसे एसडीएम साहब चीफ गेस्ट आ रहे, ढोल बजाए, आप
No, sir, if
समथिंग यू डू रॉन्ग तो आप एक बार लोगों को सॉरी नहीं बोल सकते।
Sir, sorry is not really the solution to this, sir. If I want to remove that lady, I think I'll go through the procedure, and I think, sir, if it's
वो तो आपने लगा रखी है, उसको तो अपॉइंटमेंट ऑर्डर ओके, शी हैज जॉइंड नाउ, इफ एट ऑल यू डू दैट थिंग द नेक्स्ट डे शी विल गो इन द हाई कोर्ट एंड एंगेज मी एज लॉयर ओवर देयर, और मैं तो स्टे करवा दूंगा सब कुछ। स्टे करवाने के बाद प्रॉब्लम तो ऐसी रह जाएगी, क्या फायदा हुआ, वो तो फिर भी कंटिन्यू कर रही हूँ वहाँ पर स्टे मिल का कोर्ट से।
but सिर्फ sorry से बात नहीं बनेगी. There has to be something more to it, I think.
और क्या करेंगे, तो यही है, अपोलोजाइज ही करेंगे, और क्या करेंगे?
Sir, apologize is not a solution, sir. They might not be tempered down because of my apology, sir.
क्यों नहीं करेंगे? आप अपना बताओ कि कोई आपके सामने गलती कर दे, कोई भी गलती कर दे आपके सामने, और झट से आपको बोले सॉरी मेरे से गलती हो गई, तो आप ठंडे नहीं हो जाते? बोलो आप, क्या फिर भी आप बोलते मैं छोड़ूंगा ही नहीं अब तो।
Yes, sir, but I don't really know as to what is the mentality of the crowd there. Maybe some might get lowered down, some might not, sir. So I think it needs a overhaul. A long-lasting solution is required for this. An apology would not do, sir. And if it'll do, I'll make an apology. But it will not do, sir. I'm quite sure it will not do.